I want to give an example of what you can ask in an Akashic Records reading. One girl asked me about if it was time for them to move on to being a healer as opposed to the job that they were doing now. And what came up was that she first needed to do a process to be able to get to the point where she was grounded enough to be able to offer healing. And then it also showed me a person that she needed to reach out to be able to do that. Another friend who came to me for a reading wanted to open a yoga retreat center in Scotland, and what came up was a really heavy feeling and then a picture of her in the forest with kids. And that felt really light, and she got excited about that, and 6 months later she's going to be taking over a forest school. Another person came to me and was asking about a relationship that they recently finished, but there was still a big draw and attraction to this person and didn't understand why that was happening. And what came up was that she was having this hold with this person that was actually related to her own ancestors, but also one of her past lives. Another woman had an issue that happened around an abuse and was feeling a lot of guilt as if it might have been her fault. And what came up was just really a lot of assurance that it wasn't her fault, and that at the same time that pattern of accusing herself was actually coming up from a past life where she was the image that came up was where she was a servant, and she was constantly self-flagellating and she was repeating that even in this life. I personally use the Akashic Records for myself very regularly. I ask about my work, how to direct around what kind of messages to give, how to promote. I also ask about my relationship. What is the energy that's happening between us and why that's happening? For me, when I do the reading, sometimes it's just really clear answers, and other times there's a deep emotion that arises, and sometimes there's images. And I'd say 95% of the time it's pretty spot on. It's very broad what we can ask. And the other thing to remember is that when we're going into the Akashic Records, it gives us what is possible and what is going to be the most aligned with where our soul is right now. This doesn't mean that the Akashic Records are going to tell you that you need to leave your partner and that you have no choice, but you have to leave your partner. But what it might say is that it might describe the energy that's happening and the dynamic that's happening. So you have the choice if you want to shift that, or if you want to see that, okay, that's the dynamic that's happening and this isn't what's right for me. So they're not going to say, oh, you have to do this, because you have free choice. That's why we're here, is to be able to have free choice, also to be able to find what is right for our soul's calling. And oftentimes that shifts as we move along. So in a reading, it's going to tell you what is the best possibility for your soul right now. I noticed a lot of people feel fear around the Akashic Records, around getting the answer, probably about something that they think they might know, but they don't want to hear. And so they're very resistant to getting a reading because they don't want to hear that answer that they think they know. Remember, you have free choice. And if something doesn't resonate with you, you don't have to do that choice. But what happens is that a lot of times it will confirm a suspect that you have in your own subconscious about something, and then having heard it from an outside source, it reaffirms what you know already. Because in reality, we all are in some way psychic beings, because we do know what is right for us, but we often get so stuck in our brains and all the possibilities that we can't see clearly anymore. So a lot of what the Akashic Records does is really provide clarity on what you might know deep down inside somewhere in there, but you weren't quite willing to see it. And when it does arrive in the Akashic Records, it means that that's the moment for you to allow yourself to see it. So if you do have any more questions, I do free intro calls, and you're welcome to ask me anything. And if it sounds and feels right for you, then we can schedule a reading. Okay, bye.